Manny Pacquiao lost? Matt, listen to this. He has a theory.
The reason Manny lost because your ass jinxed him. Being in the locker room with him, in the locker room saying, he bad like I said. He used to come to the game. Every time we played the Lakers, we lost because he came in the locker room. And look, you on the red team side now, we just lost.
Now we winning now.
Are we winning now? Okay.
I should move to the other side, huh? But Paul, listen, always great to see you. You ever want to come visit, come to the gym with me, meet all the stars?
Love, dog. It's all love.
You're the best of the best, a champion for life. Message to Manny Pacquiao?
Next in line.
What's your message to Manny?
Shout out, Manny. We love you. True legend, man. We always gonna love you. We always behind you and support you, man.
Paul Pierce, everybody. Matt, any message for Manny Pacquiao after last night?
It's deep.
It's deep.
What's his name? Oh, yeah, man, heads up, man. Great career. He still want to fight, he can, but I like that he's going into politics. I think that's dope.
He's a great dude. He's going to help a lot of people. Tell people where to follow you.
Matt_Barnes9 on Instagram. And,
Up in Smoke. And tell them about, what's that thing where people get the shout out?
Oh, Cameo.
Tell them about that.
Cameo, man. Any kind of shout out you need. Press somebody out. Happy birthday, whatever.
Stay tuned. Ellie Check back reporting.
They did, and I picked the Clippers from the beginning. I think the Lakers, they have to win it next year. The pressure's really on, given LeBron's age, next year. But this is what happens, and Paul, I know when you brought the big three together, but that was a big three in Boston. When you push all your chips to the middle of the table for one player, you've exhausted all your resources. Believe me, if Kyle Kuzma had real trade value, he probably would have been in that trade too. The reason he wasn't is because he didn't have much trade value. That's the reality of it. So they got to retain a young player. We'll see if he's a good player going forward. He's shown certain signs, but overall, there's a lot of room for improvement. When you push all your chips to the middle of the table, to get that one centerpiece guy to go with your other star, you have to really luck out with the rest of the supporting cast. You usually don't have enough resources at that point in draft picks and salary cap space, whatever, to put the right pieces around them to win right away. So in this case, the Lakers did a great job. They did a great job identifying Dwight and JaVale McGee and Avery Bradley, but it's not like Bradley was amazing. He was a nice piece. You know, he could do some things, 20, 25 minutes a game. And the money they spent actually was on Danny Green, who's underperforming at the moment, but I thought that was a good idea at the time. But usually it takes that next season to gather some more resources, identify what else the team needs, and then you can go in and I think the Lakers might even be favored to win the whole thing next season if they can put the right pieces around them. They did as good a job as you can ask surrounding these guys, and still it's probably not going to be enough. It's the reason I like the Clippers, because they took out Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Danilo Gallinari from a 48-win team and just replaced them with Paul George and Kawhi Leonard, superior players who do a lot of the same things but better. And so that team, coached by Doc Rivers with all the supporting pieces they need, I thought they're ready to win now. The Lakers, I believe, next year is the year where they got to get it done. I never thought that was this year.
Well, first of all, I believe it was this year, and I believe it would have been this year if the bubble had never taken place and the season had never been suspended. I thought the Lakers were peaking right when we expected them to, and with all the pieces that they had in place, I thought that they would win the chip. Obviously, the bubble has changed my mind considerably about them because Avery Bradley's not there, Rondo's been out, and I don't like what I've been seeing in terms of their ability to hit perimeter shots, which wasn't that big of a problem going into before the season was postponed. But to answer the question directly, I do believe the Lakers need to win the title this year, because think about this, Paul, and I'll give it to you. Whether it's Houston with Harden and Westbrook, whether it's Portland now, whether it's a young Denver squad, or obviously the odds-on favorite, the Clippers, because outside of Kawhi, nobody there really knows about winning championships, Doc Rivers and him, and of course Ty Lue. The bottom line is this. Whoever wins the championship this year, if it's not the Lakers, is going to have championship experience. And I think that's going to make them even tougher to knock off in the future. So I believe the Lakers' best chance of winning a championship in the LeBron James era is right now. I think if somebody else wins it, other than the Lakers, I think it's going to be that much more tougher for the Lakers to win next year and beyond.
You know what I'm tired of? I'm tired of us, Max, you and particularly, us making excuses of the best player of this generation. You don't trade for Anthony Davis to say, no, guys, we don't want to win this year. This is a building year. We're going to probably win it next year. When Doc brought us together, me, Ray, and KG, we said this year because we don't know what's going to happen the following year. And look what happened the next year. We won it the first year we got together. The next year, Kevin got hurt.
How many?
We dealt with injury problems. You,
KG, and Ray Allen.
The first year we got to, yeah, absolutely. But listen, you got.
Well, they went for Kawhi, but they couldn't get him.
You let him speak.
Let's stop making excuses. If they don't win this year, LeBron's not getting any younger. This is going to be a big hit on his legacy. And I've already said he's not a top 5 player of all time. If the Lakers don't win a championship, let alone lose in the first round, I don't want to hear none of this GOAT talk no more.
Well, I'll tell you this. You are right about this. If the Lakers with Anthony Davis and LeBron James lose in the first round, that's going to be devastating. I mean, a lot of stuff that we've talked. Listen, he don't win the championship. He doesn't win the championship. There's a lot of reasons that go into that. But to get knocked off in the first round, that's bad.
Yeah.
And it's going to be, and as bad as it's going to be on LeBron, as bad as it's going to be on LeBron, it'll be even worse on Anthony Davis.
Paul, I'm not the LeBron excuse maker. You got me mixed up with someone else. I'm the dude who sat here and said Kawhi's the best player in the world. Kawhi is better than LeBron, and the Clippers are going to win since the preseason. I also said I don't think this is the do-or-die season for the Lakers. Of course, they want to win. That's why you get Anthony Davis. That's why they targeted Kawhi. But when Kawhi wanted to compete against them, because that's the type of dude he is, he's competitive, and he jilted them and went to the Clippers, a lot of the guys were already gone. They had to spend their money where they could.
What you think is going to happen next year? This team is built to win now, this year. They might have 8 new players come next year. I mean, who knows how they're going to revamp the roster. They got to win now, Max. No more excuses. They got to win. Anthony Davis and LeBron James got to win now.
I think they got to win now because I don't think their chances improve next year. I think it gets that much more tougher, number one. But number two, I also want to say this. Max is right when he says he picked the Clippers from day one. It's just that what annoys me about his position, Paul, is that you act like we can't take the bubble into consideration. This is a once-in-a-lifetime situation that all of them are dealing with. You got players that are not there. It's like if coming into this bubble, would everybody have said the same thing they said in October? The likelihood is no, unless it was the Clippers, because nothing changed with them. But you got other teams where things have changed, particularly the Lakers. That does matter. I agree. It does matter.
I agree. I point something out. The Clippers, now they have a great front office, very savvy. Wiseman, and you see the effect that Steph Curry has. Wiggins is shooting from the outside. They'll probably be able to, if not turn those guys into great players, flip them into something. But Stephen A., by then, Draymond will be much older. Clay may not be exactly what he was in his very prime. Same thing with Steph. And even if they are, I have enough faith in them to think they're going to get back and win another championship. But more than that is asking almost for a dynasty again. I don't see that happening.
I do. And let me say this again. I loved watching Clay give his commentary and stuff like that. He was funny. And I loved when Steph got on him, and I loved when he got on that dude I think it was for the Pistons, that stepped out of pocket. I love stuff like that. Having said all of that, I have been on the record saying that Steph Curry is the greatest shooter known to man in the history of mankind. There has never been a greater shooter. Klay Thompson is one of the top 5 shooters in the history of basketball. Klay Thompson, if he never played another game, is a Hall of Fame. Klay Thompson going to Hall of Fame. Right now, without playing another game in his career, he is a Hall of Famer right now. And when I think about the two of these guys together, the marksmen that they were. Remember, Max, weeks ago we were having a debate and we were talking about Damian Lillard, who we both love. Dame Dollar, the man, big time show against Chicago over the weekend, by the way. Dame Dollar against Steph Curry, and I talked about how Dame Dollar shot 40% from three last year. Steph Curry has done it for his entire career. You know who else has done it for his entire career? That would be Klay Thompson. All 8 years in the NBA, he has shot better than 40% from three-point range. He's got a 19-point career scoring average. He's averaged over 20 his last 5 years in the NBA. And by the way, Wiseman is a rookie averaging like 12 and 6. Max, he's shooting 40% from three-point range. He's hit 9 of his 22 three-pointers this year.
Wiggins is
damn. I'm just saying, damn. It's like they got a contagious effect. Other than Kelly Oubre, because he can play, but they can't get him to shoot threes, right? But other than him, I mean, my God. Listen, I got news for you.
Steph creates space.
If Klay Thompson comes back healthy, and Steph Curry is healthy with Klay, and Wiseman and Draymond and them, I reserve the right to revisit this conversation about whether or not the Warriors are going to win the chip next year. I mean, immediately. Let's how
not get
elite
hysterical.
Of shooters that they are. You can't teach
Klay,
this. You can't make it up.
Klay is tough as nails. Michael Thompson raised an old-school throwback kind of tough as nails two-way player. There's no doubt about it. And here's a return of an oldie, Stephen A., from, a classic from my Greatest Hits Volume 1. You know who Coach Mackey at my daughter's skills development program, Steady Buckets, you know who he uses as a model to teach shooting more than anyone else by far is Klay Thompson. Klay's shot is studied by coaches teaching people how to shoot.